Grumark's views have had some influence on scholarly opinion, notably in Germany, and have tended to increase skepticism. Consider, for instance, Professor H Benson in the second edition 1960 of his Graecische Geschichte, a standard work in the Handbuch der Altertum Wissenschaft series. Benson recommends a prudent reserve, eine vorsichtige Zurückhaltung, on Ventris's theory that Linear B is a very ancient Greek dialect, PIX, and comments on the very skimpy real results even if one were to believe the decipherment correct, page 21. Benson's attitude is commended as the proper one by his English reviewer in Nomen 33, 1961, Professor J. A. Graham. Linguists, too, have had second thoughts. For example, Professor A C Morehouse, in his Studies in the Greek Negatives, 1959, page 13, number 4, where he adds an afterthought to qualify his treatment of ou and me in Mycenaean. It may need to be stated that the decipherment and interpretation of the inscriptions have raised considerable difficulties, and the identifications proposed cannot yet be regarded as certain. F. Shakomir, though a convinced adherent of the decipherment, yet regrets that in the JHS evidence paper of 1953, the account of the stages of the decipherment was too brief. Saeculum 10, 1959, 52. He remarks that the document's volume of 1956 similarly disappointed wide circles, because most students wanted an exact demonstration that could be checked. Ibid, page 54. Shakomir observes that, if Ventris had presupposed Greek as ex hypothesi, there was a danger of Petiteo Principi, that is to say, of assuming in the premises what needs to be proved in the conclusion. On Grumark's view, that is just what happened. Grumark, Gregoire, and others challenged Chadwick to describe in detail the stages of making the grids and assigning values. In particular, he was asked to state the use made of Cypriot values. It may be doubted, however, whether Chadwick is truly in a position to answer for Ventris's operations at the relevant stages, because Chadwick had no contact with Ventris till July 1952, Deciphered, page 69. Moreover, even if Ventris was still alive, it may be wondered whether he could give the sort of step-by-step demonstration the skeptics are demanding. I think Shakomir is right in referring to the irrational and intuitive elements, das Irrationale und Intuitive, in the processes whereby Ventris arrived at his scheme. OP, Site 52. My colleague T.B. Mitford, expert on Cypriot epigraphy, whom Ventris consulted about the Cypriot syllabary, regards the demand for a detailed account of the grid making and all that as irrelevant, because Mitford thinks Ventris reached his decipherment by a stroke of genius. A good many Ventrisian believers are content to go along on this line, and to say that, no matter how Ventris hit upon his decipherment, his system is sufficiently confirmed by the results it produces. This brings us to the third battlefront in the controversy, the general plausibility of the results, with special reference to the ambiguities frequently residing in the multivalency of the spelling system assumed by Ventris. Even in alphabetical systems of writing, there can be ambiguities, as in the Latin utterance nescio quid putes pastor, que oblitus ovis mala comes et mora et commixta alia rapis, in brackets, it depends whether one takes the most natural meanings for prose or reads it aloud as a couple of hexameters. The manuscript edition of Aeschylus offers more than one puzzle where letters can be interpreted more than one way. A syllabary naturally is less adequate to express meaning than an alphabet. But the Linear B syllabary, on Ventris's theory, is outstandingly inadequate, except in one particular, having a separate series of signs for delta and for tau/theta. Linear B, on Ventris's view, is far less efficient and more multivalent than the historic Cypriot syllabary, used till the 3rd century BC for Greek, and for some still unknown Etio-Cyprian tongue. O'Masson in Les Inscriptions Chypriotes syllabiques, 1961, page 53, comments that the Cypriot syllabary is much more practical than Linear B, because in it the ambiguities inherent in all syllabaries are reduced to a minimum.